We are back with Making Connections. This is our weekly interview show, and we are very excited by two musicians who have joined me in the studio. They are bridging the music of the West and the Far East. CelloGayageum duo was founded by Austrian cellist Sol Daniel Kim and Korean Gayageum player Yoon. They've been performing in Europe across various festivals as well as here in Korea. Super excited to have them here in the studio this morning. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us here in the studio. I know it's probably hectic getting here, but let's say hello to you first. Taeyong, let's start with you. So you are Korean. I know that your English is not native, so we'll understand and I'll translate for you if you need to. And you studied Gayageum here at the Korea National University of Arts. So based in Seoul, lived in Seoul, lived in Korea all your life. Then how did you meet Daniel, and then how did you decide to form a duo together? Kind of curious about how that happened.
Yes. In 2016, I went to Berlin to teach Gayageum for 2 years.
Oh.
I met Daniel while I was working at the Korean Cultural Center. One day, the Italian embassy contacted the Center for Performers. And my superior called Daniel to play as a quartet and me on a 25-string Gayageum. With that opportunity, we found out we shared musical values. So we decided to form a team.
So it was kind of instant attraction, musically anyways. You sort of clicked, I guess, right away.
Yeah.
Well, Daniel, and you were born and raised in Austria, where you studied the cello. So are you now still based in Austria and just making visits back and from, or with Korea, or are you now based in Korea?
Well, first of all, I'm not based in Austria anymore
okay.
because I went to study to Germany,
I see.
and I'm living in Berlin for 7 years now,
Okay.
7-8 years, yeah. And I'm still based there, but since Corona happened, I kind of quickly decided to just come here. And I was very lucky getting a visa before everything got even more stricter. So right now I'm kind of based here, I guess, in Korea.
But with the pandemic, why did you decide to come to Korea and not stay in Europe? Because I know that both of you were performing in Europe and, must have gotten quite a big response there as well. Because the situation's worse there? Is that why you decided to come to Korea?
Yeah, it's quite a lot worse there. And the thing was that when the pandemic started to really get out of control, everything got canceled. The whole program for the whole season just went down the river. So
yes, and let's keep our fingers crossed that the pandemic, hopefully next year will be the end of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But let's talk then before the pandemic, if you can still remember that. When you were performing in Europe and here in Korea, what was the response? I mean, especially in Europe, kind of curious, how was the interest and what was the reaction from the audience members there?
It's very interesting because, of course, Gayageum is a very, very new instrument for them. They have never, or most of them have never seen a Gayageum before and never heard it. So the response is, they're very curious. First, when they see us, when they look at us, the first response is, "Wow, what's that? What's that instrument? Wow, how is it gonna sound?" And then the immediate second response is, how are they gonna sound together? So they have basically no idea how our combination is gonna sound. But
once they hear it?
Once they hear it, and after our concert, the response is really, really good every time, and they're very surprised.
And I have to imagine that the interest may be kind of more centered on the Gayageum because it is foreign and very new to them. What do they say about the Gayageum?
Well, they actually really like the sound, and they kind of, first they look at it and they say, okay, it must sound like a harp. And then when they listen to it, it's absolutely a different instrument.
So different, right.
And they really like the sound of it. Yeah. And of course, the attention is more centered around the Gayageum.
Yes.
Yeah, but still, they're
no hard feelings for you?
No, absolutely not.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think it's time that we should listen to one of your pieces. Could you maybe briefly introduce the song that we're going to hear?
Yeah, we are gonna play "Fly High" from our first album, South Wave North Wind.
Okay.
And the full song would be too long, I guess, because it's like something around 7 minutes. So we made a short version of it, which is gonna be 4 minutes. And it's a song, it's a piece revolving around an old Korean traditional nursery rhyme called "Seya Seya."
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, and you're
Okay.
gonna hear it right from the beginning.
Very nice. All right, so I'll allow you both to set up for that song.
Perfect.
And we'll get ready to hear that. If you can both get ready now for that song. So this is going to be CelloGayageum performing Pisang or Fly High live right here in the studio. As we said, we're going to be playing a shortened version of this because of the time constraints, but we will hear another piece from them later on as well. So if you are both ready, all right, let's hear it. Wow. That was amazing. That was, Yeah, kind of left me speechless. That was amazing. Thank you so much. What a treat. And especially to hear it between you two. And that was really wonderful. Thank you so much for that performance.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
It has left me speechless, but I have to talk because this is talking radio as well. I want to ask you, Taeyong, before you met Daniel, have you ever even imagined or have you ever heard the cello and the Gayageum being played together?
I've never seen or heard the cello and Gayageum perform together. I'm proud of this special combination of the East and the West.
Right.
I think we make beautiful harmony.
You do. You really do.
Thank you.
It almost seems like the two wouldn't go well because it is such a, like you say, an Eastern and a Western instrument. And I was kind of reminded when I was listening to your performance about the late composer Yoon when he said that, Western music in a note, it's kind of like a straight line or a very steady line made with a pencil. Whereas Asian or Korean instruments, it's like a brush stroke. So it could be thick and thin and it kind of varying degrees. I was picturing like the cello providing that straight line or the support and then the Gayageum kind of like, going back and forth, like weaving in and out. And it made gorgeous harmony, which is very, very different and unique from what we hear about. In your opinion, that's an amateur. Daniel, what do you think is about the sounds or the notes of the two instruments that make it pair so well?
Well, I think, the both instruments, first of all, are made out of wood and they have strings attached to them. So the roots from both instruments are basically the same. They're coming from the same origin. So, of course, the cultural roots are completely different, but still, I think the sound merges especially well because of that. And also, I think the Gayageum, the special sound of the Gayageum is kind of, it has all those aspects which the cello doesn't have, and the cello has these sound aspects that the Gayageum doesn't have. So they filling
complement
up
each other.
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
I imagine it's very difficult to find just contemporary songs that you can then bring the cello and Gayageum together to play those songs. Yeah. I mean, like you said with Fly High Pisang, it was a combination. You kind of drew upon a Korean song, but many of these songs for cello Gayageum, you compose your own music.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine how difficult that is. How do you go about that process then?
Well, yeah, first of all, you're right. There are not a lot of pieces for cello and Gayageum, as you can imagine. So we basically decided to sit down and write our own music. And the thing is that we approach it in a very kind of old traditional way, but more in the style of Korean traditional music and not Western traditional music, in the sense of that we're not writing down our music. We are using our phones to record.
Okay.
And everything comes from an approach of improvisation, basically.
I see.
Yeah. So we're sitting down and maybe we are just playing together, sharing some ideas musically. And then there's a certain point where we say, okay, that's nice. And we are hopefully by then having a recording because sometimes we are also forgetting to put it on, and then we are kind of sad that we
right, because if it's improv, it's very difficult to recreate it.
Exactly.
And especially for your recordings as well, because as you mentioned, you had a first album out and you are going to be releasing a second album. When is it going to be released? When is the second album going to be released?
We are working on it right now very, very hard.
Yeah.
And we are basically also going to play a song from our second album, which we are preparing.
So it'll be debuting on our show.
Yeah,
lovely.
Exactly. But we are working very hard to get it out next year. Yeah. I mean, it depends also on the pandemic, of course, and how things work out. But I mean, the pandemic, in a positive sense, also helped us to just sit down and work on our music, and write our music.
On this album.
Exactly. Yeah.
다영 씨한테, you can answer it in Korean or English, but 이번 올해 너무 힘들었잖아요, 팬데믹 때문에. 근데 어떻게 좀 그거를 극복하시고 계신지, 어떻게 지내시는지 조금 궁금하네요. 그리고 내년에는 어떻게 또 기대를 하고 계시는지.
영어로
in English or Korean, whichever is more comfortable for you.
Aside from home training,
Home training?
Yeah, home training. And we spent a lot of time making new pieces.
Okay.
Yes. Early this year, we are going to have concerts in Europe, but they got canceled because of COVID-19.
Of course.
But in Korea, we had many opportunities to perform online. Yes.
Yeah, so at least here in Korea, they're very active with those online concerts, right? So it allowed you to kind of practice and I guess get maybe some of your songs also recorded as well, which you will have on your second album. So unfortunately, because we have so little time in our show that we won't have a lot of time for the interviews, but you will be, as you said, performing one more song for us. Yes. This is from your second album. Could you introduce it just a little bit?
Yeah, it's called Unha, Am Kanal, and Am Kanal is basically German. And the reason why we chose a German title for that is because the inspiration came from a place in Germany. We were invited for a festival last year in a place called Aurich, and they have a canal there. It's very beautiful, and we were just looking at it and got the inspiration to create this song. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be imagining a canal in my head as we listen to your song. Once again, I want to thank you, Daniel Kim, and also Yoon Dayoung for coming out today. Thank you very much for your beautiful performance that we're going to listen to now, and I wish you the best of luck with your second album and also performances going forward as well. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll allow you to now set up for your last song. Okay. And while we do so, I'm going to reveal the answer to today's question of the day, which was, which of the following is not a string instrument? We gave you three examples: A, ukulele, B, ajeng, and C, daegeum. And the answer to the question, of course, is daegeum. It's a large bamboo transverse flute used in traditional Korean music. So it's actually a wind instrument. And we have some messages on the board from 8102 saying that the correct answer is ukulele. Well, unfortunately not the right answer, but hello, good morning, lovely day. I've just opened up a new package of coffee. It seems grinding coffee is somehow a healing time for me. I absolutely as well. Love it. Daniel Che saying good morning. The answer is C, daegeum, and 8410 also got the right answer. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoy our last performance by CelloGayageum. We will see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. for more Life Abroad.